I found out my husband was a PDF file when I saw the secret folder he had documenting his journey stalking our boss's teenage daughter. My husband, 34M, and I, 29F, work for a small tech firm, and have each been here for around 5 years. During work, our boss would occasionally bring in his then teenage daughter and have her interact with the employees to learn the ropes. She was 15 when we first met her. Fast forward to January of this year, the boss officially brought her in when she turned 20, letting us know that she would be taking over a good deal of his responsibilities and overseeing things. We were initially hesitant, considering she was so young, but she was a hard worker and always made sure she was the last to leave work. The issue started a few months after she began. She would occasionally hold office events just to lighten the mood, and this earned her a lot of praise from all of us since it's not something the old boss would have time to look into. We were all talking about her, so it didn't feel too weird at first when my husband joined in on the praising, saying how impressive it is that she's so young but so mature, how she's been a breath of fresh air in the office, etc. Every now and then, he'd start singing her praises when we're at home, with a huge talking point always being how she's so mature for her age. I didn't take it much to heart until one time I joked that it was fine if he was immature at times, and that I would love him regardless. His response was, "Well, you were immature too, unlike her." I think that was the first time he compared me to her, but I tried not to think too much about it. This slowly spiraled, going from talking about her maturity to her looks. He would comment on how she could still look good while being busy with studies and work, stating that she, and I quote, was definitely more gifted compared to other girls. Once, out of insecurity, I asked if he thought she was prettier than me, and he said, "Of course, you're attractive to me, but objectively, not considering my attraction to you, she is prettier." This messed with me for a while, and we ended up having a fight where I essentially banned him from bringing her up with me if it's not work-related. Adding to it was the fact that he started taking extra work every now and then, working overtime. While I initially thought it was just to earn extra money, I later found out it was simply because he knew she usually heads home late too, usually after most if not all office employees had left. Fast forward to a few days ago, my husband was out with his friends, and my laptop was at the repairs, so I used his laptop. When I opened his PC, I saw a folder on the left quick access bar with our boss's daughter's name on it. I clicked it, and when I did, I actively couldn't believe what I was seeing. A folder with thousands of pictures of her, screenshots from Instagram and other apps, any and every picture he could find of her, some dating back to when we met her, and an insane number of pictures just taken without her consent, with either a hidden camera or his phone at the office, ranging from her just sitting or working, to some from a high enough angle to get her chest in frame or down blouse, and even a few under-the-table shots. But then, it got worse. I used search to look up her name on his laptop and found something that basically turned any form of sorrow or sadness I would have felt into just pure disgust. He basically had a folder poorly hidden deep in a number of folders, filled with photoshopped pictures of her, some solo, some with him, some with other members of the office, and some just absolutely vile and disgusting. I deleted all traces of me having seen or searched for those, took a picture of some of the stuff I found, and left the laptop. I was furious, but I also didn't want him to know yet. So I acted normal that night, and then the next day, I called up my cousin and asked if she needed help since she was pregnant. I used that as an excuse to move in and help her for a bit. I have talked to my husband, though limited, mostly through texts and occasionally at work. For the last 4 days, I have been living with my cousin. Update 1. So, a lot happened in the course of the last few hours. I honestly wanted to wait a few more days to cool myself off and then do whatever was needed. But some of the comments did have me worried. What if he got an idea and deleted everything, or if he did something harmful in the meantime? As my friend pointed out, if he somehow, as unlikely as it might be, found the post and put 2 and 2 together. We ended up going over around 4 p.m., knowing we'd have a few hours to collect any evidence before he got home. I made sure to copy everything to a flash drive and took a video of it being from his laptop too. After that, my cousin asked me to look up co-workers' names, and when I did, there were some results with 4 other co-workers' names, all women, but none to the same extent as the boss's daughter. All the folders were hidden the same way, and we took pictures of all of them. Then my friend pointed out that some of those might be files he received, since the file names were different, and some were similar to WhatsApp files. We did some digging and confirmed that they were indeed sent from someone else. This ultimately led me to do something that I shouldn't have done, as it could have blown up in my face. However, it had made me anxious, and I needed answers. So I asked my cousin if she would stay until my husband gets back. She agreed, and I decided to take that time to pack my bags, just the essentials for now. We waited and waited until he finally came back. He was surprised to see us but didn't seem to suspect anything, and I told him to sit down. He did, and I think that's when he noticed his laptop on the couch and asked what was going on. I told him I saw some things related to the boss's daughter, and that I wanted an explanation. He tried to get angry at first but quickly dropped that act. I told him I wanted to hear what he had to say and then decide what to do. He said he was fine talking, but only if my cousin waited in another room, as he wanted to explain things to me alone. My cousin was hesitant, but I told her it's fine, and that if she heard any issues, to send everything we found to the boss. This was a bluff, but it worked nonetheless. He assured me he wouldn't act up and asked me what I wanted to know. At that point, I really wanted to deck him, the look on his face, so guilty, like he was searching for excuses but failing. I stayed calm and told him I saw a lot of things, including all the pictures of the boss's daughter, the edits, and a few other things. I asked him to explain. He kept asking me exactly what I wanted to know, and it became obvious that he was either stalling for an excuse or trying to gauge how much I knew. I finally told him that I saw the pictures, the hidden cam pictures, and even the edits. He pleaded with me not to get mad and to hear him out. I told him I'll consider it. He took a minute and told me that he had noticed he was growing more and more attracted to her in an intimate manner, and he apparently struggled with these emotions a lot. That's why he did that, and he wanted to release his tension without harming anyone, which is why he made those and kept it to himself. I then asked to see his WhatsApp, and the color drained from his face. After a bit, he handed me the phone and told me not to overreact. I opened it to find just one group chat with 3 other colleagues. It was filled with pictures of the boss's daughter, creep shots taken from different areas, mostly zoomed in, even from today, literally a few minutes before he handed me the phone. Many of the conversations were describing in great detail about how they would have used her, and scrolling up, it kept getting worse and worse. I won't go into the specifics, but if you ever read something and just faced pure whiplash, that was me at that moment, literally unable to process it properly. He kept apologizing, telling me he loved me, and that this was all just to keep himself in control, and that it was ultimately just harmless fantasizing. I only caught bits and pieces of what he was saying before turning on the screen recorder and scrolling, recording the conversations, all the while he kept begging me to forgive him and not ruin his life and career. I told him I felt betrayed, and I told him I was disgusted at the man he was. Through his apologizing, he kept insisting it didn't really hurt anyone. But I told him it hurt me, and if she found out, it would hurt her too, and he simply pleaded with me not to tell her. For a while, he kept switching between how he's sorry and he loves me, to how it's not as bad as I am making it out to be and how they were just messing around and weren't hurting anyone. After a while, I pulled myself up and told him that I don't see myself staying with him and that I want a divorce. He pleaded with me not to do so, but I simply said that I didn't want to listen to his excuses. I then told him that I wanted to take the laptop, and he froze. I was half expecting him to reject me, but he simply begged me not to show this to the boss or the daughter. I told him I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that and that I was thinking it over, which was a complete lie. I told him not to delete the WhatsApp conversations or tell the others, and that if he does, I will send everything to the boss. Ultimately, I want to talk to the daughter first, and then decide what to do and how to tell the father. When we were leaving, he was basically sobbing and begging, claiming how it's all just a mistake and nothing actually happened, to the point where I almost did feel bad for him, but I don't think I can feel sympathy after those chats and whatnot. My cousin luckily was also there to remind me that regardless of what he says, his actions are not for me to forgive.